So when I go to take this quiz 3.4, I'm going to get 3 problems, and one is going to be level 1, right? One's going to be level 2, and one's going to be level 3. And what I might consider doing on the quiz is going through and looking at each problem and finding the level 1 first. Because when I look at each of these problems, right, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for coefficients of one variable that are opposites. So like, are 2 and -4 opposites? No. Are 5 and 1 opposites? Nope. Here's 4 and 2. Are those opposites? No. Oh, look, here's -1 and +1 right here. Right, this is -1 and +1. Are those opposites? Yeah, those are. So right away, I kind of think to myself, oh, this is level 1 right here. I'm going to do this one first because look, I don't have to do anything. I can just add these equations and look what happens. -1 + 1, that's 0. I'm going to add these, 16 + 2. And so I kind of like, I don't know, cheat a little bit. But I'm going to find this easy problem first. Okay, I get x by itself, I get x = 3. I'm going to go ahead and plug that in to find y. I'm just going to use this bottom equation when I plug in. I'm going to get y by itself. In this case, 6 is being added to y, so I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. I get -4, and let me check that before I give my answer, right? Especially on the quiz, there's no reason you shouldn't be checking that. That would just make sense. So here I get 4 times x minus, this is -1y, so that's minus -4. Right, this becomes 12. This minus a negative becomes plus. And this checks out, right? 16 does equal 16. So I've checked my answer. That looks good. My x value is 3, and my y value is -4. 1 down, 2 to go. Now, one of these is level 2, one of these is level 3. What does that mean? In one of these problems, I'm only going to have to multiply one of the equations, and in the other one, I'm going to have to multiply both equations. It turns out not really to matter too much which is which, so I'm going to just go ahead and work on this one. And what I noticed on this problem is something really awesome, which is that I have a 1y. And I'm going to take advantage of that, right? Now, I could also take advantage of this, right? So I could notice this 1y, and I could say, oh, this is 5. I could multiply this by -5, and 1 times -5 would be -5. And that would totally work. So that kind of jumps out to me. And then I realized, oh man, there's like an even easier way, right? So I right away, this jumped out to me, but I think to myself, oh man, look at this. This is a -4. If only this was a +4, I'd be good. And I think, well, I'm going to do that because I can make this 2 into a +4 by just multiplying by 2, right? Rather than multiplying this whole thing by a negative number, by a bigger number, I'm going to make my life really easy. So what I noticed here is that I had a -4 here, and I want this to be a +4. So I'm going to multiply, in order for this to be a +4, I have to multiply it by 2. So what do I get? I get 2 times 2, that's 4x, that's what I want. 2 times 1, that's 2y. And 2 times 11, that's 22. And then this equation, I'm just copying. I'm not doing anything to this equation. I'm just going to copy it right on top of this one so that it's easy for me to add. Because now I'm ready to add. Why am I ready to add? Because I have opposites. -4 and +4, this is 4. This is basically 4 minus 4. That's 0. 5 plus 2, that's 7y, equals -15 plus 22 is the same as 22 minus 15. That's 7. If I want y by itself, it's being multiplied by 7. I'm going to divide by 7. I get y = 1. Time to plug back in and find my x value. Okay, and I'm going to use this equation right here because I have this nice easy 1y right there. So that's easy, right? That's just 2x plus y. That's 1. So then this becomes a pretty easy equation to solve. I get x = 5. And let's go ahead and check our answer before we give it, especially on a quiz. We would always check our answers. So this is -4. I use this equation to find x, so I'm going to use this other equation to check my answer. So -4 times x plus 5 times y equals -15. Let's see if this works out. This becomes -20. This becomes 5. -20 plus 5 equals -15. And we're all set. So my answer is, my x value is 5. And my y value is 1. Now let's take a look at this last one. Now, remember this was level 1. This was level 2. I only had to multiply one equation here, right? I only had to multiply this one equation. In here, I kind of know by process of elimination, I'm going to have to multiply both equations because it says there's one problem from each level. So that's kind of the advantage of finding the level 1 first, and you kind of know what's level 2, what's level 3. So here I notice if I want to cancel out the x's, I already have a positive and negative, so I could multiply this one by 4 and this one by 7, and I'd end up with positive 28x and negative 28x. That would work. Or I could multiply this top one by 5 and this bottom one by 3, and I'd end up with negative 15 and positive 15. That would work too. I'm going to go ahead and just use the smaller numbers. Like, there's no reason for me to choose the larger numbers here. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel out the y's, and how am I going to do that? I'm going to make these into opposites. I'm going to make this negative 15 by multiplying it by 5. It's already negative, so if I just multiply it by a positive, it'll stay negative. And I'm going to multiply this bottom one. I want this to be positive 15. I'm going to multiply by 3. Okay, so let's do the math here. 5 times 7. Now remember, with level 3, we do end up sometimes getting those bigger numbers. It's okay. Use a calculator if you feel uncomfortable with them. 5 times negative 7 is negative 35. Here I'm doing 3 times negative 4. That's negative 12x. This becomes positive 15y, which I like to see, right? I'm looking at this, and that makes me happy to see that because that's going to cancel. And 3 times 27 is 81. Okay, this cancels. 35 minus 12, so that's 23x. And what does this equal? 46. Now I want x by itself. I'm going to divide by 23 on both sides. And I get x equals 2. Let's go back in and find y. Remember, you can use either equation to find y. I'll use the top one. Just make this arrow a little shorter. I didn't give myself enough space. Now notice I'm plugging in 2 for x, right? I'm making sure not to plug it in for y, but for x. So I'm going to do, this is 7 times 2 is 14. Subtracting 14 from both sides. This is a negative and a negative. That's a bunch of negatives, a bunch more negatives. I'm going to add those up. I got a bunch of negatives. This y is being multiplied by negative 3, so I'm dividing by negative 3. And I get negative by negative is positive. Okay, so I got 2 and 7. Let's check it right here. So I'm going to check, use the other equation. Negative 4 times 2 plus 5 times 7 equals 27. Let's see. This becomes negative 8 plus 35 equals 27. And this is same with 35 minus 8, which is 27, which is great news for me. That means my answer is correct. My answer is 2, 7.